What do you know? George Pickens, on his first day of training camp with his new team, still finds a way to take a shot at his former team.
You talk about a lot of people type cast you as a contested catch guy, down the field guy. You talk about your route tree and everything you can do. Are you excited to expand that and do more than just be a deep ball guy?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to run better plays for sure. Yeah.
Let's be real. He ain't wrong. He ain't really lying about the bad play calls here. I'd say for about half the time, though. I'm not going to say the full majority or for all of Pickens' time here, because let's break it down. Who were his offensive coordinators? He had Canada for a season and a half. Yeah, that's bad. That's a failing grade right there. Mike Sullivan and Eddie Faulkner, though, for half a season after we fired Canada. Sullivan, Faulkner, actually kind of good. It was the quarterback play, though, at times that determined how good they were. Because when it was Pickett for that game and a half, the first game and a half after we fired Canada, offense was humming. Then Pickett gets hurt. Mitch is out there, and then it doesn't matter how good Sullivan and Faulkner are, how willing they are to tailor their offense for the quarterback. If you got Mitch Trubisky out there sucking it up, it's not going to matter. Offense was bad. But then Mason came along those last three games, and offense was top 5, top 10 in the league for that short stretch. And then you had Arthur Smith for 2024, and I think Arthur Smith was a net positive. Arthur Smith was good for us last year, outside of that last game or two, those last couple games, where our offense reverted back to Canada-esque ways and we got too conservative and too predictable. But Arthur Smith was good, and I think Pickens did well with Arthur Smith last year. I mean, he was on pace for a career year, just number standpoint. Problem with him is he got hurt. 900 yards in 14 games. If he stays healthy for 17, that's like 1,100 yards. Now, I think he actually did that the season prior. Didn't he get 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns? But we saw Pickens step up his game, I felt like. I feel like he was really starting to come into his own and dictate what the defenses were doing. Like the Broncos game, for example. He was matched up against Patrick Surtain. I think he ended up only having like 20 or 30 yards, but drew a ton of pass interferences, drew a lot of attention, and you could just see Pickens won that matchup over Patrick Surtain. That was Pickens leveling up, I thought. But weirdly, he also took a step back in other areas. So, like, play calling, the offense being in disarray, obviously didn't help out Pickens' career here, but he was also his own worst enemy in other regards. Because we saw Pickens do some things last year, take a step up, but then he took a step back in other areas, just like fundamentals, route running, catching easy passes. And that's one thing you could account for with Pickens, no matter how much drama or how much antics you got from him. If you threw him the ball, he was coming down with it. If you threw it in his vicinity, he was coming down with it 99 times out of 100. Last year, we couldn't say that. Dude was dropping easy passes. Ball security was an issue with fumbling and in critical moments, critical areas of the field. You could question his blocking, being on time. That was another thing that clearly took a step back. Just, being a good teammate. Even though some of that stuff was popping up with him the first 2 years, that didn't improve. If anything, it took a step back in year 3. But for me, the part of Pickens' answer here that really sticks out to me is dude ain't even answering the question.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to run better plays for sure. Yeah.
He just used it as an opportunity to take a shot at the Steelers. The question was about Pickens' game and Pickens showing that he could be an all-around receiver. And he's just like, I'm excited to run better plays. Instead of just answering, yeah, I'm excited about, Cowboys offense. I'm going to prove to you guys I'm an all-around receiver. It was the plays. And as I pointed out to you guys, it wasn't just all the plays. Pickens also was a detriment to himself at times. And that's the same way I've talked about Pickett's tenure here. Pickett didn't do himself favors, but the Steelers didn't do him favors either. So, yes, a portion of this is the Steelers' offense being in disarray, the philosophy, the play calling, all that stuff. Pickens' surroundings didn't help Pickens, but also Pickens didn't help himself. Definitely didn't help himself. took a step back with some of the fundamentals last year, dropping easy balls, causing drama. Like that's no good. And I even talked about Canada. Yeah, we can all agree Canada sucked. But there was a point in time in Pickens' rookie year, remember, when we found our identity, second half of the season. And we were kind of humming on offense. We were moving the ball. Defense was playing good. We were winning games. We were a hot team going down the stretch. I don't think a lot of teams would have wanted to mess with us if we would have made the playoffs. And there was one game in particular I remember where Pickens was causing some drama, putting the attention on himself. It was the Falcons game. We were running the ball for like 200, 250 yards, running the ball down the Falcons' throat. And Pickens is still complaining that he's not getting the ball. The run game was working. We were ground and pound, having success. Falcons couldn't stop us. Pickens is complaining about not getting the ball. Like that, Pickens, like he wasn't doing himself favors there. And then hasn't done himself favors. Didn't do himself favors year 2 or year 3 with a bunch of other stuff that, we could go over, but we don't need to right now. So, yeah, I guess not a surprise. Pickens uses that question, not even related to the Steelers, to still take a shot at the Steelers. Didn't even say anything else. I'm just excited to run better plays. So, yeah, this is a direct shot at the Steelers, clearly, right? Other answers sometimes from former players will stretch a little bit to make it seem like it's a shot at us for something to talk about. But this is clear as day. Shot at the Steelers. So I think it was relevant. I think it was worthwhile to react to here. It's topical to the Steelers because it's a direct shot at the Steelers, even though Pickens is a Steeler now. Let me ask you guys this. Are we doing this? Let me know in the comments. Are we going to be checking in on our exes throughout this season? I feel like we got to. There's too many storylines. Like, this year's going to be insane. Pickens with the Cowboys, Minka with the Dolphins, Pickett with the Browns, Russ with the Giants, Fields with the Jets, Najee with the Chargers. I mean, yeah, there's so many storylines. There's so many headlines. There's so many just different threads connecting back to the Steelers. I'll try to make sure it's not overkill, that the X's are infiltrating the content, but I still feel like it's something people are going to want to talk about. I feel like it is something that's interesting. This season's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Because not only do we have a ton to talk about in-house, we have Aaron Rodgers, we have Jalen Ramsey, we have DK Metcalf. But, yeah, a bunch of guys that were key members of the Steelers team over the last 2 or 3 years are taking on major roles with other teams. So we get to see up close and personal whether or not the Steelers made the right move of moving off of certain players and bringing in new guys. So I feel like we got to react to some of this stuff, right? We got to react to some of this, and this is just another example of it with these Pickens comments. Let me know. Are we doing that? Are we doing that this season? We're going to have some content revolving around Pickens, stuff he says, what he does with the Cowboys, Pickett, Fields, Russ, with their teams. Are we doing that? Anyway, TJ Watt, this is his first appearance since signing that big contract. Goes on the Graham Bensinger show. Now, I don't know when this was recorded. This might have been recorded before he signed the contract, and it was just released yesterday. But he was asked about his legacy as a Steeler and how he feels about not winning a playoff game. And I love his answer.
And winning a playoff game is absolutely motivating me. It's something that we haven't been able to do since I've been there. Mm-hmm. I think that's absolutely unacceptable. And that is what's attached to my name right now. And I have to answer for that. As much as it sucks when you say TJ Watt, XYZ, you also say TJ Watt and not won a playoff game. And
does that genuinely bothers you?
Oh, it genuinely bothers me because I'm a part of those teams. As much as I'm only one player, as much as whoever is one player, like, you are putting your hand in the pile too. I feel like I can make a difference enough to help win a playoff game, and to have that to your legacy, especially when you play for an organization that has 6 Super Bowls and has, when Mean Joe Green comes back, it's Mean Joe Green, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I don't even know how many Super Bowls he's won. You know, Jerome Bettis, 1 or 2-time Super Bowl champion. Like, it's like, TJ Watt, yeah, great individual player, but what's the team success? And that's what really bothers me.
Yeah, I love this. Like the energy, like the vibes here. Makes me like the contract even more, because it seems like TJ was set on being a Steeler. He was never not going to be a Steeler. And as I said, I don't know exactly when this interview took place. Probably was before the contract was signed. But clearly he has that mentality in this answer that I'm going to be a Steeler. Push comes to shove. I want to be a Steeler for life. We're going to make this work. I want to be one of the all-time greats here. I want to be the solution. I want to be the difference maker in the franchise, returning to glory, returning to their Super Bowl ways. But did you have to take 41? Couldn't have taken a little bit of a discount? Your cap hits are $42 million for the next 2 seasons. I get you want to be a part of the solution, be the difference, but you would have even been more a part of the solution or the difference if you took a little bit of a discount. That's all. That's all. Now, I was right. Like, we could look at it. You could look at this contract no matter what way you want to look at it. If you want to just go off the headlines, TJ got a record-breaking deal. He's got $1 more million per year than Myles Garrett. 108 fully guaranteed. Or not, I guess 108 guaranteed. Contract's not fully guaranteed, but he's getting 108 million guaranteed. Number that matches his sack total up to this point. You could look at that, or you could look at it as this is basically a 4-year deal. It's a 3-year extension, but it's 3 years on top of what his deal was already. So if you combine those 2 contracts, it's really like 4 years, and he's getting like 35, 36 million per year, almost like the Deshaun Elliott extension and the Jonnu Smith extension that I've talked about before. How you really got to look at it. Elliott's getting this, $9 million per year extension, but it's on top of what his contract already was. So if you add the contracts together, it's really like he's getting $5 or $6 million per year. So same could be said for TJ with this deal. So yeah, I guess it's not the end of the world. But those cap hits next year are real, because we finangled the contract in a way where his cap hit is a lot lower this year, even for what his previous contract was, which clears us cap space now. But the bill is going to be due, and be due soon. 2026, $42 million on the cap. 27, $42 million on the cap. So we'll see what Omar Khan does with this, how he operates. I think TJ clearly wants to be a Steeler for life. I know we could talk about potentially trading him next offseason if things go to shit this year, but I don't know. I got the vibes here, and that's what I mean. I like the energy. He's saying being a one-helmet guy in a Steeler uniform means a ton to him. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting. And as I said, I don't know when this recorded, but I do got a question here. TJ, you've been a Steeler for how long? You got to read up on Steelers history, bro. Steelers clearly didn't do their due diligence when picking the modern era spokesperson for that Steelers museum. On that commercial that you see kind of during the season where they're promoting their new Steelers museum, and they got TJ Watt representing the current Steelers. It's like, bro, you picked the wrong guy. He doesn't even know how many rings Mean Joe Green has. Come on. The godfather of Steelers football. I wouldn't say the GOAT of Steelers football. The GOAT of Steelers football is Big Ben, but Mean Joe Green, come on. Steelers legend. The godfather. 4 rings. Not hard. You've been here how long? Like, that's 4 rings, Mean Joe Green. 4 rings for any of those Steelers legends from the 70s. You should know that. Jerome Bettis, 1 ring, not 2. Just 1 ring. Went to 2 Super Bowls. Just 1 ring, though. Rode off into the sunset, winning Super Bowl XL in his hometown. Feel good story. That's that. Yeah, I like this answer. I like this answer from TJ. I would have liked the contract to be for less from a Steelers standpoint. But ultimately, I'm happy TJ Watt's here for 2025. It seems like the dude's motivated. I think the dude is going to want to prove the contract that he was just given right, that it was the correct move to pay him that money. That he's not going to make it a bad contract. He's not going to make it a mistake. Hopefully. You know, age is a factor, all that stuff. But if there is a guy that could potentially age like fine wine, it's TJ Watt. I wouldn't put it past him. Had a little bit of a bad stretch at the end of last year, but look what he's done for the majority of his career. The dude, again, over the last 5 or 6 years, he's been the best defensive player in the league. He has. Could he stay that way for the next 2-3 years? We'll find out. We'll definitely find out. But I like the energy, like the vibes. It makes me think that all the reports that were out there that were saying TJ, Steelers so far apart, TJ pissed off at Steelers, that was just a bunch of nonsense. That the deal was always going to get done. TJ didn't show up to the mandatory minicamp because TJ was working his ass off, doing his own program somewhere in Wisconsin, and anything that he did at mandatory minicamp was just going to cause a distraction, really. That the work he was going to do at mandatory minicamp was going to be less than whatever he did on his own, and him showing up was just going to be him answering questions about the contract, and it just would have been bad vibes. So that's why he didn't show up. And he had to pay the price, I guess. Well, I don't even know. Are the Steelers going to follow up on those fines that TJ Watt would owe for missing? Probably not. He probably just threw him out with him signing the new contract. So whatever. That's it for today's show, even though I'm going to have more content later. I don't know how much later because Steelers, they're arriving right now to training camp, and I know there's a lot of interviews. There's going to be a lot of content that's out there. So I'll probably start working on that soon. I don't know when I'm going to drop that video, maybe later today, like nighttime, potentially like 8, 9, or maybe it's sooner. Maybe it's around like 5 or 6. But stay tuned for that. And then, actually, I'll give you an update on the next video in terms of what to expect over the next few days with training camp starting. I'll give you the update on that next video. That's it for this one, though. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Peace.